little thingy here on the screen, it says we are live. So if anybody jumps in and uh, tells me we are live, let's see. I still have to get used to this going live thing, but anyway, let's do a little chat. Um, Not really going to hit a bunch of specific topics, just going to talk and see where this kind of goes. If anybody jumps in with a question, I'll do my best to answer it. I'll give shout outs, whatnot. I don't usually do a whole bunch of lives for whatever reason, probably because we're just not that big of a channel yet. People are busy, and it's one of them ones that the majority of views on lives is usually the next couple of hours to the next day. But the lives do seem to be semi-popular, so we'll go ahead and do a live. So anyway, the first thing that I wanted to touch base on is the convenience factor. The course of today of doing things, I had the TV on in the background with, I don't know, the History Channel or whatever it was, and it was the TV show Modern Marvels. And they were going through and basically doing things like peanut butter, canning of different jams, jellies, your preservatives, pickles, things like that. And how much it revolutionized us as a country. And while I agree, and I do admit it does make things a heck of a lot easier and more convenient that you're not having to come home and grab stuff and fully depend on, if you want something like that, that you would have to grab it and start all from basically your own product of what you grew and turn it into the usable end product of what you wanted. Now, some people didn't grow their own. Some people bartered or trade or got something from neighbors or whatnot. But it kind of comes down to, I understand capitalism, and I understand doing a thing to make, things easier. I'm all about that. But has it ruined us? Because it's a lost art form of being able to go from start to finish on most of your stuff, because it's more convenient and easy and faster and all that fun stuff to run down to your local grocery store, Walmart, or whatever's in your area. And so when you learn how to make something simple like bread, and you take it to work or you take it to a friend's house or whatnot, and you get asked about it, and you tell them, hey, I grew my own wheat. I ground it out into a flour. I mixed some ingredients, some water, some whatever, tossed it in the oven or whatever you do to cook, wood, stove, whatnot. And I made this bread. And people are fascinated and amazed by it. And it really wasn't that long ago that was the standard of living. If you wanted bread, that's what you did. Same thing with jams, jellies, pickling, jarring of anything, any sort of preservatives, whatnot. And it kind of makes me go back into it of what is convenient is also taken for granted, and how many other things out there that we actually take for granted that is kind of that lost art form. What other prepping skills, things of, how to start a fire, how to do a lot of different types of repairs, just generalized things like that. And it's going to end up becoming, and again, in the prepping community, you go by preparing, for the worst, hoping for the best. And so I hope that you don't ever have to, have your life or your family's lives depend on those skills. Hopefully it's one of those things that it's just a fun thing to do. Hopefully it is something that the bread tastes better. The ingredients. A lot of times it's cheaper, to make your own bread. You can do with it what you want instead of going and you have to pay, the money to put fuel in something or some sort of transportation to get to a store. You have to pay for the packaging and you have to pay the bigger price so the store can pay for its transportation of the product, and there's a lot that goes into it. But going back into it, there's not only that, but there's a lot of things that are going on around the world that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that even care. There is a ton of things going on in Africa. And I know I'm going to get the thing, rural, why do I care what's going on in Africa? And I'm telling you, there is a ton. Now, granted, this is a live video. There's still a ton of information. I think I saw it about 2 or 3 hours ago of the kind of whispers back and forth, unconfirmed, that there is a coup going on in Congo, in Africa. And it's not far away from what's going on, with the other coup that took place. And so Africa is abundant in resources. There is a huge rabbit hole you can go down with Africa of all the lithium and the oil and the gold and the diamonds and all the different precious rare earth elements, precious metals, all sorts of stuff. There is a ton down in Africa. And to start connecting a lot of the dots of just the different things that are down there, and to be honest, it's nothing to say anything bad about, this person or this country or whatever, but to have a vast amount of land with that amount of resources and kind of a cash cow, thing just lying there needing to be exhumed out of the ground. A lot of it has virtually no military. Now, we know that Wagner's down there. We know that there's a lot of countries. Russia's down there. China's down there. Everybody's got their finger in the cookie jar down there. But Africa is going to be something to keep an eye on. Now, there's a lot of other things going on. You've got the Oz. I can never say it out loud. I can say it in my head. I can never say it out loud. Azerbaijan and Armenia going head to head. And then you have, who is it? Iran is backing Armenia, and Turkey is backing the other. And then you also kind of have Russia in there quietly stoking some things, as well as Israel, because Israel and Iran don't get along. And there's a lot of, if you do this, I'll do this. And somebody comes in behind them and says, yeah, well, if they get involved, then I'm getting involved. And there's a lot right there. That is a huge glowing ember that is not going to take very much for that to just go up in flames in a very massive way. And there's already conflict in that region. There always is conflict, but there's already a lot of conflict. You've got a bunch of different things between China and Taiwan. And our stance on it, from a governmental point of view, always seems to change by the day. And there's a lot going on into that. We won't get into that. But if you go more locally, there is a ton of rumors and whispers online, a lot of chatter of prices going up. Just everything continually gets more and more expensive. The rumors that seem to kind of go in hand to hand of the debt, national debt's going up. And you can go to, I don't know how reliable the number is, but you can go on to, I believe it's debtclock.com, and it does a 24-hour rolling tally of just all the different number figures from Federal, state, local, keeps track of a lot of different things. Again, I don't know who runs it or how reliable or accurate that information is. But on there, it gives you the rolling tally of the federal debt. And it is, I think the last I saw, closing in really close to $34 trillion. And that's a huge number. And then right next to it, it has two little bubbles. One is that debt per citizen, and then that debt per taxpayer. And to break that down, in case somebody doesn't get it, per taxpayer is somebody that has a job that pays taxes. And that number is pretty big. Then you have the per citizen, and that means that anybody who is an American citizen, which includes my 4-year-old. And I do not like that. I believe it was $94,000. You know, he's 4 years old. Why does he have a $94,000 debt already in his name that he has no idea, you know, really what anything is? It's not really fair. I don't like it. But I believe the debt per taxpayer was $294,000 or something like that. Maybe a little less. Maybe it's 248 or something. Somewhere around $250,000. You know, and if you're not aware of it, if you have a job and you pay taxes at all, guess what? You have a $250,000 debt. You know, even if you homestead and everything, you know, is all great and you own everything in your name, you still have some sort of national debt taken out in your name. And between gas prices, the rumors of well over $100 a barrel by the end of the year, and I'm going somewhere with this, so stick with me. So you have debt on the massive rise. You have gas prices that are going to rise. And I've seen some figures where they say it's going to be low to mid to high $5 national average, if not much higher. I saw one report that they were saying the national average could go anywhere between $6 and $8 by the end of the year. And that's completely absurd. I hope not, but I suppose it definitely could happen. You have inflation on food. You have inflation on basically everything. Then you have the amount of credit card debt is at an all-time record high. You have the auto worker strike happening right now, which is going to put a huge damper on the price of cars. You're going to see the housing market starting to go because people just can't afford homes. And then you have the student loan debt getting ready to take back off. Do you kind of see the correlation of all these things kind of hitting all at the same time? And it's going to be all right about the holidays, not to mention with the talks of the potential lockdown. Hopefully I can say that. Which kind of brings me back, and I apologize, this is just going to be a ramble session. So I know some of you like it. I get a lot of positive feedback when I just ramble and talk about a little bit of everything, and I get some hate mail for it too. So if you don't like that, sorry, this is what this is going to be. But I watched a movie. I didn't realize it when it came out, but I had somebody recommend it to me, called Songbird. I believe it came out in 2019, and it's on the CV19er. If you've seen the movie, I'll try and talk about it a little bit. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to do my best not to spoil it. But it basically goes through of what kind of was taking place. Kind of, in my opinion, a very Hollywood style, over dramatized of what it very well could have been. The very beginning-ish first half of the movie was very, what I would say, a dramatized, realistic version of what could have taken place or what very well might be trying to take place. and then it kind of has to story off from there, and turn into a movie that people will pay to see and want to see. Um, which I always find it weird that a lot of the survival movies, the kind of prepping movies, things like that, there's never one to where it's not some sort of hidden thing behind it. Um, there's some sort of uh, love, hidden thing behind it of, boy meets girl, or whatever, some reuniting thing, whatever. It's never actually just a true. Now, not to say that there technically is. I'm saying a large budget. I've seen some different free movies on like YouTube. Amerigeddon's kind of one of them that somebody recommended. That was pretty enjoyable, low budget film like that. There's a couple other ones that I forget the name of it, but there are a few. But if you go into that, um, it's one of those ones that it really makes you stop and think about the things that could have been and the things that very well could take place, in the way that it was a very Chinese style of a lockdown, that you were forced to stay indoors, that there was, and they didn't really say anything about it in the movie, but there were certain people that were immune and they got to wear a wristband that signified that they were immune, and they were basically free to move around and do whatever they wanted, which I don't like the whole marking of clean versus unclean or healthy versus unhealthy. But if you was not wearing one of those wristbands, you were forced to stay inside your home. You were not allowed to come out. And I mean, even if you were an apartment building and there was 10, 20 doors, on your floor, you were not permitted to open up your front door. Packages in the movie were delivered, and there was, not include everything, food, water, medicine, everything. There was a little box right beside your door that the delivery person would open. They would put the stuff in there, it would close, it would so-called decontaminate. You would open up your end, pull the stuff out, there you go. But you were not even allowed to go over and physically talk to your neighbor. You weren't allowed to physically go next door. You were not physically allowed to open your front door. There was wellness checks every morning. It was really kind of eye-opening. That kind of made you stop and think. Could it happen that way? Absolutely, very well could. Do I think it will go that way? I certainly hope not. If it did, it would only be in cities, and at this point in time, with a lot of the things that went on with the defund the police movements and various other things, a lot of sheriffs probably wouldn't partake. Kind of the same thing with what happened down there in New Mexico, I believe, where the governor there wanted to suspend your CCW permit for 30 days. And basically everybody underneath her said, not going to enforce it, not doing it. And I see if you try to do something like the big thing, now granted in this movie, I think it was once you showed symptoms, you had anywhere between whatever to 48 hours that you were pretty much going to die once you got it. And you were going to die within 48 hours. And I think the only way to scare a ton of people to make them go into that route is if you had a Hollywood style, just people falling over left and right. If you just have sneezes and sniffles and whatnot, I don't know if you're going to have enough people that's going to comply this time around. Not saying that it's not a real disease. There's a whole big back and forth thing that we can go, and this is not the time and place. And I don't think really going down that road at this point in time on my channel is going to be happening in the at least near future. Doing my best to at least be on somewhat good behavior, because I believe the risk to reward of getting people prepared versus trying to speak out against um, opinions. Let's go that route. So let's go into a different route. With everything that's going on and all the debts and everything that seems to be kind of coming, the higher inflation, higher fuel prices, you still have the beef industry that, I think when we just went and bought beef, it was getting up there. I think it was 80-20 was something like $7 a pound, seven something some change a pound, I believe. Bread was starting to go a little higher. There were some things that were roughly about the same price, maybe a few cents less, 10 cents more, something like that. But there was some things that were definitely noticeable, at least at the store there. But even if you don't buy into the whispers, which you need to not take my word for it. Don't take somebody off the internet's word for it. And it doesn't matter if you watch 5 different people and all 5 of them agree. Don't take their word for it. Go research it for yourself. The best advice that I can give you is that if 2 agree and 3 disagree, if 4 agree and 1 doesn't, whatever. Let's say that they scenario it out that 4 out of the 5 say that by the end of the year, gas prices, national average, will double. And 1 says, no, it might go up 10 cents, but it's not going to go up that much. It's not a bad idea to use that as an exercise and go, let's go ahead and prepare. It is mid-September right now. So you have October, November, December. You have 3 months-ish. Why don't you do it as a test run? That way, if you go through and do your preps and do your management and all your stuff, so that way you can get ready if it does happen. If it doesn't happen, it's a great test. You can see if you passed, failed, whatever. If it does happen, then you're either prepared or at least you have a better start than if you didn't do anything. And I do that with a lot of things. Even if I think that it doesn't have merit at all. Kind of like the national test that's supposed to be, October 4th? Something like that. So I can't remember dates because I'm no good at dates. Do I think that's anything? No, I don't think it is. I think the timing of it's a little suspicious. And I've seen some good stuff. Not to laugh per se. I saw that somebody took the Kingsman movie, where everybody who took a certain thing that nationwide test is supposed to be the same thing in the movie, that this little alarm will go off as a test and it'll activate something inside of them and you'll go nuts or explode. I don't know what it was. I didn't really pay that much attention. Could have happened, I suppose. It could. If it does, I giggled. I apologize. Come back and yell at me in the comment section on October 5th that I was completely wrong. And I will admit I'm completely wrong if I am. I don't think that it is anything. I think the timing of it's suspicious. I think it's a distractionary measure. I think it is a test bed for something in the future, but I don't think that is anything that's going to happen. I saw another one, something about September 23rd and the great meaning behind it, and all the different movies and news articles and clocks in the background of TV shows and all this stuff and addresses and whatever. That 923 or 23.9 or whatever is this massive symbolic whatever. Could it be? I suppose, yeah. Do I think there's anything to it? No, I don't. Um, I think there's a lot of people out there that have a very vivid imagination. Um, I do enjoy reading and watching some of those as a pastime because I like to see people connect the dots. It doesn't matter if it's about aliens. It doesn't matter if it is flat Earth people, the Loch Ness monster. Um, we're all in a giant snow globe, whatever. I mean, if you have a theory and you can actually slowly connect some dots for me to where it is halfway believable, I like to listen. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with you at all, but I enjoy that. I like to see people, go from here to here and here, and how do you put it together and go, hey, you know what? Maybe that is 0.005% plausible. It's a nice little entertainment thing. It kind of opens your mind, gets you to think about things. I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm not saying go out and do it. But there are times to where occasionally somebody's right. There are times where they get something part right. There's a lot of the times that as they're connecting the dots, I go, wait a second. And it gets me to do my own research. And that's really a large majority of why I do it, because usually the people that have really good points do research. Now, maybe they're far stretching and it's opinionated and, they're making a lot of assumptions and things like that. But it doesn't mean that doesn't spark something for me to where I go, well, wait a second, I didn't know about that. Or, that happened right there. Is that really true? And then I'll go do my research. And I've learned a lot of things researching just a small little topic or bullet point by somebody else. So let's circle back. I thought I saw somebody pop online, but I don't know how to do most of this stuff. I need to get a lot better. I know that people keep telling me to buy a laptop, but right now, until the channel grows and all this, the 6-year-old cell phone or however old this thing is seems to be working just fine as it is. So we'll take a small step back before I probably rant and ramble again and say that I want to thank all of you, because this is the whole reason I do it. If I can just help one person become a little bit better prepared, then I consider this a worthwhile task that I'm doing. I do work a full-time job. I do have a family. Like I said, I have a 4-year-old. I have friends and neighbors and different other people that depend on me, as well as my job. And so my time is of value. And so for me to cut time away to do research, to do filming, to edit and do all this stuff like that, I enjoy it because I love to help people. But sometimes I don't get to sit down and make a video a day, or to make 2 or 3 videos a week. I do my best with the time that I'm allotted, and I will not sit down and read a headline without putting research and thought and everything behind it first. I take it as kind of a moral obligation for me to take a topic, research it, put out, some bullet points and some well thought out everything before I bring you content. It's not right. And I see that there are people out there that the second something hits, they jump online, they say this, that, and everything else. And then a day or two later, it comes out that that's not actually what happened. And instead of them coming back and apologizing and admitting that they were, wrong, or whatever, they just continue on like they were 100% right and nothing ever happened. And I hate that. So, by all means, call me out. If you watch something and I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I am human. I'm going about this just like everybody else. I learn a lot from you guys. I learn a lot from feedback. You guys give me some great advice on some things, and it's one of those ones. And we'll jump into a quick story too. The wife was trying to um, do a different way of boiling the tomatoes to get the skins off, and she was doing something that I didn't have not seen her do. And normally, I'm the one that goes through and does the canning and uh, the making when it comes to that. She does help and she does do a few of the things on that, but normally I like to do it, so I do it. But she was taking some of the tomatoes from the garden because she wanted to make chili. And when she was boiling, it caught my attention because when she was taking them out and the way that she was doing everything, I had to stop and ask her. I go, "Well, what are you doing? And where did you learn that?" And she told me she happened to see something the other day, and it kind of gave her that idea, and so she wanted to try it, and she kind of edited it. And I just wanted to say that what works for you may not work for somebody else, and what works for somebody else may not work for you. And to take two or three different people's ideas or whatnot and take a little tiny crumb of each and every one of them and then add your own spin to make it yours. So, but anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up and tell you guys thank you for watching. Hit the like, subscribe, share for notifications on the little bell, and remain united. We're all prepping this together.